hardest was trying to get these directors giving you these like instructions in Japanese, and
Uh-huh.
then trying to understand what they're saying, and then also trying to act at the same time. It was just
Yep.
like so hard. That's
Uh-huh.
probably I didn't get too many I didn't get too many Japanese speaking roles. Um,
Hey, welcome to Japan Station. My name is Tony Vega. All right, so welcome back. It's episode 4, and today is, well, it's a month since I started releasing this podcast. And I just want to say really quickly before we get to my guest and all that, thank you so much to everybody who has taken the time to actually listen, to download, to subscribe. I really, really appreciate it. That's been super, super encouraging. And, because you put something out, you don't know if anybody's going to listen to it, but people have been listening, and that's been really nice to see. Again, thank you to my guests who have shared the episodes on their social media. That's been incredibly encouraging too. So yeah, I've got a whole lot more in the works. So many more great guests that I'm working on getting, or that I already have recorded, like today's episode. So today I'm talking to David Elliot-Jones. Now, Dave is the subject / guinea pig / maker, or one of the makers of this new documentary called Big in Japan. And Big in Japan is, well, it's it's a really funny documentary, but it's also really thought-provoking. It makes you really wonder, like, about the nature of fame in today's society, right? So is fame a good thing, a bad thing? Is it worth it? Is it something that people should be pursuing? Is it harmful? But it makes you think all these things, wonder all these things in this, well, ridiculous way, right? So the premise is that Dave, along with his two friends, they go to Japan to try to make Dave into a celebrity over there, right? So they leave their homes in Australia. They take jobs as English teachers to support themselves, all while they try to find ways to make Dave famous. And Dave is not a musician. He's not an actor. He's not anybody with these kind of like flashy, marketable talents, right? He's just a normal, everyday, nice guy that would never do something like this. But that's what's so interesting about this documentary, right? That it's almost like a fish out of water sort of thing, very uncomfortable situations, and yet Dave agrees to go through with this for the sake of the documentary. It's an experiment, and the final product that you get is something genuinely interesting. So So they do a couple things. They make Dave, for example, join a talent agency over there. And surprisingly, Dave gets jobs fairly quickly. He ends up on an NHK show, for example, and he has to act, and it's a train wreck. It's really funny to watch, but it's also kind of just cringy, right? And then another thing they do is they make this YouTube channel. It's almost like a parody of just all those crazy YouTubers that are doing horrible stunts to just get attention and views. For example, they make Dave dress up like Onigiri Man. So Onigiri Man is this character that they make up. He's got like a rice ball hat thing, and it's fundoshi, which is like a loincloth. So he's wearing basically nothing but a loincloth and doing things like walking around Shibuya, one of Japan's most crowded and trendiest places. He's practically naked and he's walking around this area, and Dave absolutely hates it. And it's kind of painful to watch, but it's also really funny to watch. And, they keep upping the ante, and Dave keeps going like, oh my God, no, I don't want to do this. But he goes through with it. So I'm not going to say what happens at the end. Does he become famous or anything like that? You got to watch that to find out. But trust me, it's totally worth it. Aside from that, the documentary also, they talked to Bob Sapp, for example. Now, Bob Sapp is this... so I believe he was a football player in the U.S., but ended up becoming this kind of celebrity entertainer in Japan. He was a pro wrestler and kickboxer and actor and just all-around entertainer. He was actually in a American movie, too. The Longest Yard with Adam Sandler is this football movie. But really, his career has been in Japan. So Japanese people, I think most of them probably know who he is. He's quite well known. And you get to kind of know, what it's like to be somebody that famous in Japan. And actually, it seems not that pleasant. It's very interesting. So, but aside from him, they also talked to Kelsey, who is an aspiring idol. And she's from Canada. She left her home in Canada to try to become a pop idol in Japan. They also talked to Ladybeard. So he's that guy that cross-dresses. He's from Australia. He's been a pro wrestler and a metal singer. Very interesting guy. And his reasons for pursuing fame are just, wow. You know, I'd love to talk to Ladybeard on the podcast sometime. Anyway, so they talk to these guys, and you get a really interesting insight into what fame can do to a person, right? Why people pursue fame. And yeah, it's weird. And like I said, it's really thought-provoking. But anyway, so today on the podcast, we talk about all that kind of stuff. And Dave also gives a really interesting advice for anybody hoping to become a celebrity in Japan or make it big in Japan. It's a very simple thing that you can do right away. So make sure to stay tuned until the very end when he reveals that. Okay? So anyway, I've talked way too long. I think it's about time we get to the show and see what Dave has to say.
The next stop is Japan Station. The doors on the right side will open.
So, I think you've been asked this question a million times, but could you kind of tell how this came to be? I read that you were a film student, and then so you already had that interest in making a film, but how did it specifically evolve into this crazy kind of journey that you went on with Big in Japan?
Right. So I actually didn't study film, but I got involved in documentary filmmaking with two of my friends.
Right.
And we just finished our first broadcast project in Australia, which was about something completely different. It was about international students and immigration. But we had we just been paid for the first time. And so we bought cameras, and we had to think of a project. We wanted to make a feature documentary. Fame and its evolution in recent times is something that has interested us, I guess, throughout, because there was all that reality TV sort of craze that we went through culturally in the early 2000s. And then Facebook first started in my first year of uni in I think it was like 2006 or something. So we saw that whole social media thing just blow up. And at the center of it were these fairly ordinary people who were the new celebrities. And we thought just going to Japan and exploring, I guess, using this sort of like lens to explore fame would just be a really fun experience, and also super interesting because they have lots of interesting fame subculture over there. So yeah. Basically, it was like an adventure, a working holiday, and also we were interested in some of these foreign celebrities who were big names in Japan but weren't in their home countries. So that's basically how it started.
So I also read that you, right around the time when you guys were first starting to flesh out this idea, one of your I think it was like a football team mate went viral. Could you talk a little bit about that?
Sure. As a soccer captain, I play Sunday League soccer over here in Australia. And there was this incident where he got sent off for having a penis ring, essentially. It's really, really bizarre. On the sidelines, my other teammate called Bill had captured the whole thing and posted it up on Facebook. And
how did they find out he had a penis ring? Like what?
Well, yeah, it's got many layers to this story. But someone was yelling from the sideline. Basically, he got kicked. The ball hit him in that area, and someone on the sidelines revealed that he was pierced down there, and maybe perhaps that wouldn't have hurt so much if he wasn't. And referee heard that. It's against rules to have any jewelry, and subsequently demanded that he remove it. You can't do because it's just impossible. It's
Yeah.
once it's there, it's there. So he sent him off. He ended up sending him off. And then it was filmed, and it became this like sort of like tabloid news story. Like it was like the world's most bizarre sending off, and the video got like 1 million hits on YouTube, and it was covered by like dozens of news outlets around the world, including The Guardian on the sports page, which my dad, the first I heard about it was when my dad saw the video on the Guardian football page, and I have a little cameo for like a second, and he just told me that I just saw you on The Guardian. And it's just like a bizarre. It was an interesting moment because it's just sort of like that was never the case before. Stuff like that just couldn't happen because of traditional media. It was like the platform is so controlled with it's basically
they're the gatekeepers.
The gatekeepers,
right?
Producers decide who they put on the TV and whatnot, but it's cast wide open, and you have these weird viral events that happen now, which is changing how we think about fame, I think, and it's giving ordinary people an experience of fame, which people react to in different ways, and but I guess like the documentary looks into this. What we wanted to explore was, now that fame is so accessible for an ordinary person, what is fame like, and is it something that we should want? Is it really a worthy goal for an ordinary person to become famous?
Right. So how did you guys conclude that Japan was the place to go to? What is it that attracted you to Japan? Were you already interested in Japan beforehand, or was it through this project that you kind of
It was like a
built that interest?
Combination of things. So there was that fame idea. We knew we wanted to make something exploring that fame idea for a while.
Right.
And it's just a number of things that aligned. Lockie's partner, Sarah, her family is from Japan. And so we were talking about doing a working holiday together. So we were sort of mid-20s at the time, and sort of at that time when we wanted to have a bit of an adventure. So there was that. But then there was that whole idea of Big in Japan, which started like in the 70s, 80s, even earlier than that, with foreigners going to Japan and getting huge, basically, despite not being known in their home countries. So that was a parallel in some respects to the situation that we find now with ordinary people all of a sudden getting famous. It's ordinary people have been going to Japan for years to get famous over there. So we just thought it was that there was that parallel, but all in all, it's a fun, exciting dressing to the theme. It's like we thought we could find some really interesting characters in Japan, and that there were lots of different angles we could explore regarding fame over there. So it was just a number of things aligning, and we were so thrilled with the people we were able to find. And just I guess the purpose of the film is to explore fame. So we all told this quite adventurous story, and then at the end I think we leave the viewer with questions about fame, and
definitely
it's quite a anthropological / philosophical exploration, as well as a comedy and an adventure.
I think the kind of craziness keeps you interested as you go deeper and deeper, and you start thinking like, does Dave really want this? Like, is he happy with this situation? Like, and then you get those moments like, it's like, oh, this is going well. It's like, oh no, but no, this isn't going well. Kind of goes up and down.
That's it. I took one for the team as a guinea pig.
So when you told your parents, your family, or I know you guys went with your girlfriends at the time as well, right? So what was the reaction from the people in your life? You said, I'm going to Japan to do this.
A lot of confusion, a lot of people thinking like that I really, really wanted to become famous, because that's the whole, like, I mean, the whole sort of what it looks like from like my own social media use and that kind of thing. It would have looked like that as well. So a lot of people were really confused because it was sort of out of line with who I am.
I get that vibe from you. It doesn't seem like that's something you would normally do.
Yeah, and that was kind of the point as well, because we really wanted to make it totally fish out of water, ordinary person trying to get famous. So yeah, a lot of people probably still think that I really, really want to become famous, like who on my outside circle of friends. But no, it was bizarre. But once everyone saw the documentary at the end of it, they kind of got it eventually.
It only took 2 years, 3 years.
Exactly. And
from the start of the filming process, that was about 2 years until you guys wrapped up production. Is that right?
It. We were living in Japan for 2 years to film it.
Yeah.
So we were all teaching English as well on the side.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So did you guys get jobs when you were in Australia, and it was all lined up when you got there?
We signed up to a teaching company from Australia, so we had our jobs lined up, which was really cool. And I would highly recommend if any of your listeners are interested in doing that. I think it's a really great experience. It's quite easy to do, and it's a really comfortable lifestyle, and you're given quite a lot of time off as well. So very cool experience.
Was it at a English school or was it at a public school?
Yeah, it was an English school, a chain, one of the big chains. Yeah.
There's a scene in the movie where you get a call from I believe it was the talent agency, and you have to call out sick again for I don't know how many times you'd already done it at that point. And you express that you feel bad about having to do that again and leaving this one specific student. So could you talk about a little bit about that? How that conflicted with your goal, but it seems like you enjoyed the experience of teaching English.
Oh yeah, it was great. I think teaching is really good for anyone really, because you have to command that in conversation environment, and I think that's a really good life skill. It was tricky to manage responsibilities, freelancing in the film and TV industry. You've got to kind of accept opportunities when they come your way. But I obviously had almost a full-time job, or definitely a part-time job on the side. So it was really tricky, and I won't say too much more about it because I might get in trouble.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did you ever get in trouble over it though?
No.
At the school?
No, I didn't.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's good. I'm glad you were able to kind of work that out.
Yeah, I was very lucky, and I pushed my luck quite a lot, I think. So, yeah.
Well, they can be very forgiving, I think. A little more so than they would be in your home country sometimes. Yeah,
they're very kind. Yeah. That's true.
So what about the learning Japanese? Because I was, in the movie, in the documentary, I hear you speaking Japanese a few times, but I was also watching some of your the Mr. Jones videos, the YouTube channel that you started for as part of the documentary, and those are pretty much completely in Japanese, and you have conversations with people, and you say you speak quite a bit in those in Japanese. How did that process work? Where did you learn? Were you writing those scripts yourself? What was going on?
Yeah. It was a real slog. It was really hard to learn the language. So I studied it. As soon as we learned that we were going to Japan, which was 6 months before we left, I started learning it. And then took intensive classes soon after I arrived. But when you're teaching English in Japan, it's and especially in our case, I was living with my girlfriend, and we were. It's really hard to like make Japanese friends, so we were pretty much in like English speaking bubbles, and that was really hard. But we wrote these scripts for these YouTube clips all in Japanese, and then we got them checked by a translator. But it was always super hard to remembering lines in the first place is kind of hard because I'm not an actor, but actually remembering the Japanese and trying to say it properly was incredibly challenging.
Would you say ultimately really helped your Japanese? Because if you have, those were pretty elaborate scripts that it seemed you were writing, and like a beginner Japanese learner would not be able to either write or understand what you were saying. So it seems like if you had to write it, look up all this stuff and memorize it, would you say that was a good learning experience?
Oh, it probably would be. Yeah. I reckon it was. I definitely learned a lot of new vocabulary doing it.
Yeah.
Probably some unnecessary vocabulary as
yeah,
well.
It seems like, there were quite a few strange ones. But there was one that I was watching. It was Onigiri Man, and that's the character with the like onigiri rice ball headpiece and the fundoshi, the underwear, right? Then you're pretty much naked. And I think it's the first episode of that one, or at least it's on the Big in Japan YouTube site. And you're asking people about love. And Japanese people about love, and if they've ever had sex with a rice ball.
Onigiri to sexu shita koto ga arimasu ka?
What was that experience like?
It was pretty funny. It's interesting to see people's reaction to questions like that. I'm
assuming you got rejected by a lot of people that did not show up on camera.
Actually, no. More or less, the people. There was a couple of people that it was very clear they didn't want to be filmed, but most people were really receptive of it.
Really?
And, they just thought it was a big, like, really, like they thought it was quite fun. So it was. We had a pretty good run, I think, and
it was pretty fun.
And people gave us like surprisingly deep answers.
Like asking Japanese people about what they love about their partner. That's not something you normally see or hear about. They're generally, not everybody, but kind of bashful about those things. But
especially
they opened up.
Japanese people,
yeah.
It was really I really liked that one. That was good fun.
Yeah. What would you say? So aside from well, it could be either one, I guess, because you approached trying to achieve that fame kind of on two angles. One, the traditional travel agency, not travel agency, talent agency route, and the YouTube route. Right. So either way, I think, what was the most embarrassing or challenging kind of thing you had to do in either of those routes that you were undertaking?
Yeah. So basically, I worked as a foreign talent in Japan, like an actor model type thing.
Right.
So you sign up to these foreign talent agencies.
Yeah.
And that in itself was incredibly challenging because I'm not an actor, never acted. I was completely out of my comfort zone. Hardest was trying to get these directors giving you these like instructions in Japanese, and then trying to understand what they're saying, and then also trying to act at the same time. It was just like so hard.
カメラ見て、カメラ目線でゆっくりとね、パッションがカメラ目にはパッションだよ。分かった？
And with intensity. Okay?
Is that everything? I mean, it seemed like he said quite a bit more than that.
That's probably I didn't get too many I didn't get too many Japanese speaking roles. But it was yeah, that was pretty hard for the talent agency stuff. And YouTube, I think we found it super hard to even get any plays on our videos.
Really?
And that was quite revealing to us. And we found it. We went through this all of this effort to write the scripts and find the locations and all of this stuff. But at the end of the day, people were making videos about the ramen that they ate and getting 10 times as many views.
Absolutely, yeah.
So I feel that was quite revealing of the medium as well, and what people are looking for when they search on YouTube.
Yeah.
Because I think it's a lot of this modern fame stuff is about people wanting to see people who are like themselves. So it's almost like this digital friendship type thing. It's quite interesting. So I think that was that was a challenge, trying to get views on YouTube. The trying to get work in the talent industry. Although we did get a few pretty good jobs towards the end, which was fortunate.
Yeah. So I think that's what I was earlier, right? So you have those moments where you go you need to pack it up. Why are you doing this to yourself? And then those big moments come and you go what? It actually, if you're patient, it might work out. So. It's a nice journey. What about the first time you had to put on that fundoshi, the underwear, put on the headpiece, and I think, was that in Shibuya as Onigiri Man?
Yeah.
What was that like?
It was terrifying. Yeah, and just complete dread, and that's it. That's part of the deal.
Yeah.
I'm the guinea pig, and Lockie and Lewis are sort of the bad guys.
There's some moments where you go, just let him. He doesn't have to do that. Why are you making him do that?
Yeah, but that's a dynamic that we have in the doco, and I think that's what makes it kind of fun to watch as well.
Yeah, I think so.
I have to do these things. I have no choice.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Yeah. And that's kind of what we're exploring as well is we're seeing a lot of these sort of dare videos and people basically degrading themselves to get likes and views. So we wanted to see if there was any joy in that type of fame, purely in the fame itself, whether that was worth it. So that was kind of part of the reason why I was doing these extreme things.
Mm-hmm. So would you say you enjoyed the process?
I think I liked, if I zoom out and I look at the project, I'm happy with the result, but sometimes during it was incredibly difficult. And I wouldn't say that was enjoyable.
Right.
Writing the scripts and actually putting together the videos was good fun. It was a good sort of creative thing that was probably taught us a lot as well, which was really fun. Mm-hmm. But I don't know, it was always just dread before Onigiri Man went out in public. It was sometimes it took a bit of Dutch courage, to be honest. It was, I wouldn't do that again. So I'm glad that it's over. Yeah.
Well, I think, in that moment when you're in Shibuya and it's time to take off the clothes, you can tell quite clearly, oh my God, he'd rather not be doing this, but you always do your best to get it done and you push through.
Yeah.
What is it that kept you going then? Was it just the notion that you were you knew you had a goal in mind and you were trying to get that done?
Yes. Mm-hmm. I'm probably, I'm very ambitious, I guess, as a person. Yeah. And whether that is flawed or not, I don't know. But so I always thought that it was going to be like a documentary at the end of it and we'd have something. When it actually turned out to be really, really difficult to make and a lot harder than I thought it would be. But yeah, I guess just thinking about the end product was what fueled my determination. Often going and doing these like crazy videos. Yeah, I don't know. It was definitely hard at times, and there were times when I did not want to do it at all. And yeah, there were times when we disagreed and we didn't want to do it.
Right.
Yeah, so it was tough, but overall, I'm pretty happy that we managed to have such a wacky sort of experiment, and I think it works in the documentary.
Yeah, so. Totally. So knowing what you know now, then having been through that and having seen, for example, like kind of what other celebrities in Japan go through, like what you saw with Bob Sapp and Kelsey and Lady Beard, would you prefer to be famous or not famous if you could just kind of snap of a finger?
Yeah, it's interesting. I think if you're talking purely about fame or not having fame, probably I'd rather not have fame.
Yeah.
But if we're talking about, it's all about what you do, I think. Right. And if and we explore this a little bit, if you're an artist, like for Kelsey, for instance, she really loves singing. Mm-hmm. If you want like as many people as possible to see your stuff, which is essentially getting famous. Yeah. And I think that's I think I would probably want something like that, like for documentaries, because the more famous you are, that's correlated with success as well.
Right.
If the more people are watching your films or whatever, I could see how people would. I could see how that would be a good thing, but also it would come with the burden of a lot more admin, difficulty to know when people are wanting to engage with you personally or are just trying to get something from you. I think that's really hard. We saw that a bit with Bob Sapp.
Yeah, I think it was particularly prominent with Bob Sapp. That was very interesting to see, and how he opened up so much about it.
That's it. And the other thing is, and we saw this through Lady Beard, is just how much work it is. Right. It's a huge amount of work. And do you, if fame is your goal purely, are you ready to basically work full time to sustain it? Not many people are. So it makes sense. You should be doing something that you enjoy if your goal is to become famous.
Right. Yeah. Well, it's, fame can be a tool that you can use to your advantage, right? But
that's it. Yeah.
And unfortunately, if you can't wield it properly, it can take over every aspect of your life. And then, that's when kind of, I think the negative side starts to creep up, right?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. You see a lot of YouTubers sort of almost become sort of controlled by their audiences sometimes, like always asking them to do these dares and that kind of stuff.
Right.
Like, I think it's a bit of a worry if you are shaped somewhat by an audience. I think that's a bit of a concern.
Yeah.
It's good to listen to an audience if you're an artist or whatever. I think or a creator. I think there's degrees of it, but and then the other thing is it's I think you'll have a bit more of a hard time relating to friends and that kind of thing, and trying to have a separate social life. I think if that can also happen, but yeah, as you say, it's all about sort of managing all that stuff, I think.
Yeah.
So it is possible to have a good fame experience, but it's also there are a lot of dangers.
Were you ever struck with that fear of having fame kind of take over your life at any point during your journey? Like, were you ever concerned with what was happening with you? Not just because you were doing like crazy, well, maybe because you were doing crazy stunts. Maybe that could be part of it, I suppose.
Yeah. I mean, my fear probably was more that Lockie or Lewis would suggest something. But
the next thing they were going to tell you.
Yeah. But I don't know. Like, I guess. Sorry, could you repeat that question?
Yeah, no. So, at any point in the process, were you ever concerned with what that seeking of fame was doing to you?
Yeah. Look, I don't. I think I always saw the end in sight. Mm-hmm. So I wasn't super concerned about that, but mm-hmm. There were some times when, you know, we were focusing on this YouTube stuff.
Yeah.
Where I was kind of wondering, okay, this video is sort of taking off. What does this mean? And I hope it doesn't mean more of that risque sort of stuff.
It's like, oh no, is this what I'm going to have to do the next like year of my life or something like that?
That's it. Yeah. So but I'm lucky because I could just walk out of it at the end and return to normal life.
Right.
But yeah, maybe other people aren't as lucky like that. Or maybe people, it becomes their job, and then if it's their job and they're earning from it, you've got to get those views, and I think that's a bit of a concern.
Yeah. Would you say there's anything unique about Japan in the sense of fame? Is it really just that foreigner aspect, or is there some other angle to it?
Well, there's lots of interesting subcultures mm-hmm. in Japan, mm-hmm. and we through Kelsey, one of the characters, we explore the idol world.
Yeah, that's true.
And it's it's a different kind of fandom and fame. Mm-hmm. Basically, a small group can exist. Mm-hmm. And be financially viable, provided they have enough dedicated fans.
Right.
Like, because the fans spend a lot of money.
Yeah.
And so the whole, I guess, purpose of the idol group from a management perspective is to cultivate these relationships with fans.
Yeah.
To basically, I guess it's sorry, I'm going to stop there.
That's all right. Well, like the vibe that I get and what I often hear, it's kind of like the fans enjoy seeing the growth of the individual idol and the group as a whole. Like, they get a sense of satisfaction that they know they're supporting this girl, and they see her kind of evolve, become more talented and reach higher levels of fame, perhaps. Like, there's this sort of cultivation of you're part of this, right? Like, you're making this happen, so we need you to support us. Thus, we can charge like 3,000 yen, $30 or $40 for a CD, so that you can shake hands with the idol, right?
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. Which is pretty bizarre. You can't see something like that in the West.
That's one aspect, I think, of why Japan still has a rather viable CD industry, or photo books, things that you don't really see in the West. I mean, you don't see like big celebrities selling photo books in Hollywood, or I'm sure in Australia either, as far as I know. But
totally,
that's kind of the way in, right? That's your way into that person that you're trying to get that time with, to make them notice you, right?
Exactly right. Yeah. So super interesting stuff, and I think there are different rules for the fan game in that world. It's sort of like a micro celebrity. There's like lots and lots of stars, but as well as there are major idol groups and stuff like that as well. But it's like a smaller version of fame that for almost like a community around the group. So it's that. And I guess we were also interested in this sort of lost in translation type vibe,
right?
With Bob Sapp especially. There's because he's just he's busy all the time, working every day. Basically, he's commodified himself, so he's like does everything for if he gets paid enough.
Yeah.
So it's just a strange type of existence because he doesn't have that. He's got his like management team, but that's kind of all the people he deal with. Like he doesn't have too many close friends, and and
it's interesting in that, like, you know, I first learned about Bob Sapp back in like 2003. My friend had gone on a study abroad and he came back and he had this like a poster of him and he said, look at this guy, like this guy's like famous over there, like who is he? And we started looking up, you know, the music video with the Bob Sapp please and all that.
Hey, Bob Sapp please! How funny is that?
But it's whenever you see him, and even in the movie you see like he switches, right? There's a switch that turns on and he turns into Bob Sapp, the character. But then when he's kind of talking to you, he's just like a normal person. And it's just so weird, right? Like that's just who he has to always be around Japanese people pretty much. But you know, when he's outside of that, he can kind of be himself, but as you said, like it seems like there's very few people that he can be himself with.
That's it. Yeah. And that's that's happened over kind of like 20 years doing what he does as well.
Yeah.
I think it just becomes a lot harder to trust people as well.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah.
It would be super hard. I don't think I would want to be that famous to have that experience.
Yeah, or like famous in that you have to always be this cartoon of yourself, right?
Yeah, that's it. There's like people always have an expectation of who you are and how you should act, and sometimes it's easier to just give people what they want, you know?
Absolutely, yeah.
So yeah.
I got 2 more questions for you.
Sure.
So in your very first Mr. Jones video that I found on the Big in Japan YouTube site, you mentioned Japan has given a lot to you or something like that. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, vaguely.
Okay. Did you have anything specific in mind, or were you just kind of trying to do something kind of epic sounding?
So yeah, probably going for the epic sounding thing. But I've always thought Japan was cool.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm not super into subculture, but I do like a bit of manga, and anime. But I'm not like a massive consumer of it either. But I've always been interested in Japan, and I think it's a great country. And it's always very interesting to visit. So
have you shown the movie in Japan at all? Have Japanese people gone?
Yeah, we did.
Yeah, what was the reaction like?
Japanese people loved it.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh,
yeah.
That's fascinating.
It was really for them it was like I guess it's like a look at their culture from a foreigner perspective.
Absolutely. It's a bit eye-opening, I would imagine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was really interesting. We only had a handful of Japanese people watch it. The rest were all foreigners when we had that screening. But I really do hope that we'll hopefully like get it on TV or something in Japan. I think that would be really good.
Yeah, I think that's really interesting. You know, you see like Dave Spector, and there's so many, right? Like that they're always on TV, these foreign talento as they call them. But I think most Japanese people don't really think like, who are these people for real? Like, where are they coming from? How do they get into the industry? And oftentimes, like we were saying with Bob Sapp, they just end up playing these kind of cartoon characters of themselves because that's kind of what sells, right?
Yeah. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, it's funny. Yeah. It's strange.
Yeah.
I guess for people who don't know Japanese TV, it's kind of interesting anyway. Like it seems like it's like stuck in the 80s a little bit.
Yeah,
like all these like talk shows and like shows about like reenactment dramas and stuff like that.
Yeah.
You see. Basically, you see there were a few shows that have like foreigners as representatives of their country.
Oh yeah, I've seen those. Yeah, they like to like the world ranking one, Sekai I forgot.
Yeah.
Banzuke. I think it was called Sekai Banzuke. And they have a panel.
That's it.
Yeah, they have a panel of people from all over the world. And they show like the people that kiss the longest and just these ridiculous categories. And then they have like the foreigners weigh in on why they're not on the list or why they're number one or why Japan is number one or whatever. Stuff like that.
Yeah, it's interesting. It always is sort of reinforcing how great Japan is.
There's a lot of that. Yeah.
But it's interesting just to set up, isn't it? I think like having one person represent a country.
Yeah.
So if there are like it's too bad for that country if
there's like a weird guy,
is super loud and obnoxious,
right,
and rude. Yeah, it's funny.
Yeah, I think a previous guest, her name is Anne Latine. She is half Japanese, and but her dad is from Alaska, and she went to Japan to become a Japanese comedian in Owarai, and the talent agency that she was with was a Japanese talent agency, and they wanted to really push that Alaska aspect of hers. So they were trying to make her like do moose recipes and stuff like that. Well, they really wanted her to become kind of like the Alaska person. So they're always trying to sell people.
Good on them for trying.
Yeah, she did really go for it, but they're always trying to find that weird thing that you can become that kind of one note person, and it's funny at first, but I think that's also part of the reason why many end up disappearing rather quickly.
Yeah, that's it. It's fast turnarounds as well. Yeah, it's like once there's no layers to it.
Yeah,
it's just this surface level thing.
Yeah.
Interesting.
All right, so last question, kind of a big question, I guess. So if somebody listening is thinking, I want to go to Japan, I want to be famous, I want to be a celebrity, I want to get into the entertainment industry, what would be your advice?
If you're interested in doing film and TV stuff, there are a whole bunch of foreign talent agencies in Tokyo. All you need to do is Google foreign talent agency Tokyo, and it's really easy to sign up and become one. You'd get work if you have good photos. So if you have professional photos, you portraying you as certain characters, that's a good way to get a head start, because it makes it look like you've got work.
Wow.
And apart from that, I would, it depends what sort of market you're going for, but if you have talent, if you're a singer or something, there are great underground scenes in Tokyo. I don't know I didn't do super well on the net myself, so but I think going to these big sort of meetup events and trying to work and network with people who have more of a following would be a good way to go about it, I think.
Okay. So
they always do collab videos on YouTube and stuff like that.
Right.
I think that's
Yeah.
So that's
Pictures very important, so it seems.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Good to know. So get your headshots ready then, people. All right. So where can people watch Big in Japan?
Just need to go to biginjapandoc.com.
Yeah.
That's our website. And on that homepage, we've got Watch Now, which takes you to Vimeo. But we've also got icons for iTunes, Google Play, Amazon Prime, VHX. So whatever platform you would like to watch it on, Big in Japan should be there. And if you're having any trouble, you can get in touch with us and we'll try to work it out.
Awesome.
But I think the states maybe the best options are iTunes and Vimeo.
Okay. Cool. Yeah. So definitely go check that out. Social media, do you want to let anybody know? I think it's Big in Japan Doc on Twitter, right?
That's it. Yeah. So if you just look up Big in Japan Doc on all social media, that's Facebook, Instagram, you'll be able to find us.
Perfect.
So
nice
give us
and
a
easy.
follow.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you, Dave, for making time today. Appreciate it.
No, thank you, Antonio.
All right, there you go. That's some really good advice, actually. It's very, like I said earlier, simple, but if you're packing your bags right now and you're ready to go off to Japan to become the next big thing, well, do what Dave said first. Get yourself some good headshots, maybe something with an old-timey mustache or a Sherlock Holmes hat or something. And then, pack that up and go to Japan, because you might as well have those, right? Why not? Why not have every advantage you can have? Anyway, thank you so much to Dave for coming on, for that good advice too. And if you, the listener, wants to actually watch this documentary, which again, I recommend you do, it's pretty fun, go to biginjapandoc.com, and there you can click on the Amazon link or whatever, Vimeo or whatever it is that you prefer watching it on, and it'll be right there for you. So go do that. If you'd like to get in touch with me, you can do so via the email, which is mail@japanstationpodcast.com. Send me your questions or comments or whatever. You can like us on Facebook @Japankyo, follow on Twitter @Japankyo News. And of course, for the show notes, you can go to japankyo.com, click on podcasts, and that's where all the show notes are going to be. The trailer for Big in Japan is going to be in the show notes too. Or quick shortcut is japanstationpodcast.com. That'll take you straight to the list of episodes. So just keep that in mind if you want to find out more. And if you want to support the show, well, one great way to do that is to just shop on Amazon. So go to japankyo.com, click on the Amazon affiliate link, do your shopping, and tiny percentage of whatever you spend comes our way. So just keep that in mind next time you're doing your, holiday shopping or whatever it is you're buying. And lastly, thank you as always to You Know Me for providing the awesome opening and closing song. For more information on You Know Me, you can check the show notes. So that brings episode 4 to an end. Thanks for listening. Hope you enjoyed it. And stay tuned for episode 5. Should be coming soon. Make sure to follow on the social media. Like I said, that's where all the updates for the announcement for the next episode and all that kind of stuff is. So go there. Go do it. Go do it. All right. Anyway, in the meantime, go find your miniature pony. See ya.
Just do it!